We came here looking for something. What do you know about V1?
You come to the right place.
No.
It should be a delightful reunion.
Good times.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. The boys dropped a brand new Season 5, Episode 5 trailer. There's a whole bunch of new WTF moments, Easter eggs, and obviously the big supernatural reunion. The boys are back, so we will break it all down. There have been so many supernatural crossovers on The Boys so far that it has been wild that it's taken them this long to get all the boys together again. Stan Edgar has the right of this. This should be a delightful reunion. Even though he's talking to Homelander, he is talking about the big supernatural reunion with Jared, Jensen, and Misha all on screen together in a lot of this trailer, even though that's only part of the episode. Like, that's really the big selling point of the episode. But the whole idea, as we see in the trailer footage, is Homelander and Soldier Boy go to the Vought Wellness Center, which is like their glorified rehab facility, to find Jared Padalecki's character, who's playing Mr. Marathon, who they mentioned several times on the show. He's the speedster that preceded A-Train on the 7 before they kicked him off, sort of like the boys' version of The Flash if he was complete degenerate. Asking him if he knows where V1 is, if he knows anything about V1, because Bombsight took it all, but it seems like they haven't figured out, at least Homelander and Soldier Boy haven't figured out that Bombsight was the one that took it. So I'm assuming that when they're at the Vought Wellness Center, they learn that Bombsight has it, and then they go after Bombsight. But I think they're saving the Bombsight stuff for next week's episode, not for Episode 5. Episode 5 is mostly here at the Wellness Center with them dealing with the supernatural reunion. And while they're at this rehab facility talking to Mr. Marathon about V1, you also have Misha Collins' character, who I'm now thinking might just be another Vought superhero, because this is meant to be a rehab facility, because I also believe there are going to be a bunch of big cameos during this episode at the rehab facility with like famous celebrities in universe who are in rehab currently, like just degenerates who are in rehab, as well as other Compound V superheroes that are in rehab. And they're kind of making it seem like Mr. Marathon and Misha Collins' character try to gang up on Homelander or get Soldier Boy to betray him. But I think the idea, and we started to see this in last week's episode, with Homelander not wanting to kill Soldier Boy and taking some pity on him. Based on some stuff that Jared Padalecki said, they start to see more eye to eye and find common ground, father and son, and start to bond a little bit more, get a little bit closer. So I think the Soldier Boy is more Team Homelander, and he's going more Team Homelander than he has ever been before, whereas a lot of people are expecting him to be willing to betray Homelander. So I think that's what's going on in all the footage where you see Soldier Boy, Jensen's character, strangling Misha Collins' character in what seems like Mr. Marathon with all these dead bodies around him. Basically, the two of them trying to get Soldier Boy to betray Homelander and failing to do so, to their detriment, to their deaths.
In our upcoming episode of The Boys, that our characters have quite a bit of influence on each other, in each other.
But I do think they wrote some of their scenes with just the three of the boys together having their big supernatural reunion. So like Homelander isn't there for all of their scenes or conscious for all of their scenes. One of the big reasons why they did it this way is because Eric Kripke, who created The Boys TV series, or he adapted The Boys TV series from the original Garth Ennis comic book, also created the Supernatural series, so he goes way back with Jared, Jensen, and Misha. I think the episode ends with them learning that Bombsight has the remaining V1, and then in episode 6, that's when Soldier Boy goes after his old comrade, Bombsight, to get the V1 for Homelander. You also notice around the rehab facility there are posters to all of Mr. Marathon's movies because all Vought Compound V superheroes make their own movies. It's like a whole Disney thing. If Disney had their own superheroes that were real and they just pretended like the Avengers movies were fake, but they were actually real superheroes making them. Most of the in-universe movies are meant to be parodies of real-world action movies in some way. We get a separate scene of Terror humping a Homelander doll, ripping it up with Butcher next to him. Not totally sure what's going on in this scene here. I think it's just meant to be a funny moment of Terror humping Homelander and Butcher just laughing at it a little bit. When Frenchie seems like he starts to lose his mind, it's not clear what's happening here inside the lab. It might just be something to do with Terror. We get a very weird scene of Homelander bending over, rubbing his butt like he's egging somebody on. Not clear what's happening here, if this has something to do with the V1 subplot, something with Soldier Boy. You can let me know what you think is going on in this scene in the comments.
Are you sure?
There's an absolutely crazy scene of Adam Bork, the director character played by PJ Byrne, seeming like he has explosive diarrhea and he's just bleeding out of his butthole. Not totally sure what's happening here, but it just seems like something terrible is happening to him in this moment. Feel kind of bad for him. Somebody call him an ambulance. Then in this scene of Homelander talking to Stan Edgar in the White Room, notice that he's wearing the prison camp uniform with Homelander on it, like the same thing that Huey and the other boys' characters that were locked up were wearing at the beginning of the season. Deep brought him back to the 7 Tower, but Homelander might have put him in a special prison. I don't think that he's in like the regular prison camps that all the other prisoners are in, because he's so critical to Homelander's plan, like he wants him so badly. But wherever he has him stashed, he just has him in regular prison gear here. And when he says it should be a delightful reunion, he's talking to Homelander in the context that he's sending him to Mr. Marathon to learn about the V1, because Mr. Marathon used to be teammates on the 7 with Homelander, so that's why he's referencing reunion. But obviously the real meaning here is the supernatural reunion of it all. They end the trailer with another scene of Jared and then a scene of Jensen looking at a picture, remembering some crazy good times back in the day. I'm not totally sure what he's talking about. This would have been before he went into cryo, so because most of the time when he's remembering the quote-unquote good times, he's remembering having sex with someone, some big celebrity character, something really crazy, or doing some crazy drugs back in the day, something related to that, and because this is a rehab facility, it would make sense that it has something to do with that. Something absolutely crazy and totally illegal that he did with somebody big back in the day before he went into cryo with the Russians capturing him. But also, because they're laying into the themes of the Supernatural reunion here, he's remembering the good times, quote-unquote, of the Supernatural TV series. Ah, the good times back in the day when we had our TV series.
It should be a delightful reunion.
Good times.
Then it isn't in the trailer, but I believe we're also supposed to see an escalation of the Black Noir and Deep feud that they started earlier this season, where they started going after each other and sabotaging each other, and their fight just gets worse in this episode and escalates through next week's episode too. There are a couple other storylines, and the good thing I think that people will be happy about is that it doesn't feel like an absolute fetch quest kind of episode, like a side quest that isn't totally tied to the main storyline, like it is more focused on them actually finding the V1 so that Homelander can take it, become immortal, and turn himself into an actual god. One of the other big things that the actors were clarifying too is what was happening with Sage's character and why she seemed so pissed that Homelander was getting closer with Soldier Boy. I think the idea is that she really was behind Bomb's site, stealing the V1 from Fort Harmony before Homelander could actually find it, because she doesn't want Homelander to actually become immortal and immune to the virus, because he's going so off the rails and so crazy. Because at least up to a couple episodes ago, she seemed like she wanted Homelander to succeed in his plan to take over the world, but then all of a sudden when he told her about his plan to become a god, replace God with himself, that's when it seemed like she really wanted to do something about him. And it seems like she's trying to plan a contingency to try and get rid of Homelander, using Soldier Boy and the other characters like Bombsight, for instance, to, one, keep the V1 away from him, and also, I think she's trying to get Soldier Boy to betray Homelander at some point. But Jensen said that after last week's episode, after that moment where Homelander spared him, he started to identify with him more, Soldier Boy started to identify with Homelander more, and they're bonding as father and son, getting closer over their shared degeneracy, mostly. And it's going to wind up throwing Sage and other characters for a loop, even though Sage is meant to be the smartest person on the planet. I think they want to make her seem kind of fallible, like there are some weaknesses to the way her ability works. So even though she should know what's going to happen, be able to plan around it with contingencies, she's not able to plan around every single thing. Part of the way that's meant to work, they kind of got into this in previous seasons, is that she sees probabilities in the most likely of outcomes, so she's trying to plot the most optimal path for her plan to come to fruition, but she can't see every single possibility, and sometimes she is surprised. It's a little bit like Doctor Strange with the Time Stone, like he found the one possibility where the Avengers did survive, but there were other things that could have thrown that off the rails along the way. So this makes me think that scene where you see the syringe in the background and Homelander firing his lasers into the sky is from a later episode where he actually does get the V1 and Soldier Boy does help him get the V1, whereas previously, like earlier this season, it made it seem like the Soldier Boy really hated him and didn't want him to survive, but that's going to change.
Are you crying?
Papa bless, father and son ruling the earth as a bunch of degenerates. But we are barely halfway through the season, so there's still a lot of stuff that they need to do to tie up all the big character arcs. So I am expecting, at least by next week's episode, for more bigger characters to start getting killed off. We will see who winds up biting it first. Everybody start posting all of your death predictions, and we will see who winds up dying. Really does seem like it's going to be bad news for Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins in this episode though, so press F to pay respects to them. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below and let me know which other supernatural actors you want to see on the show. I know Crowley is the big one, where is Crowley? Why hasn't he been on the show yet? But they could always put him on the Vought Rising prequel show. My full episode 5 video will post Wednesday morning after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. There's a bunch of other big things happening this week too. We just got a big House of the Dragon Season 3 trailer. There were a bunch of other big Comic-Con trailers, so I'll add links for all that stuff down in the description below. Everybody click here for that full episode 5 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other Boys episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.